Welcome back, everybody, to Road Atlanta. Beautiful day now. The sun has come out. The clouds have, no, I wouldn't say they've disappeared, but they are at least dissipating. And we have got a bit of sunshine here looking down from our drone shot as we look down on the pre-grid for our next coverage of SVRA. And it involves this man, Scott Borchetta, in the 98 Corvette. And alongside me, Jonathan Green, is Ben Sissel, who I will say he does love this particular group. Am I right?
Really do. Look at this car right here. Gary Moore in this beautiful Mercury Cougar set up to Trans Am specs back in like the Dan Gurney type days of Trans Am. That is a 1968 Mercury Cougar. Gary Moore is always one of our fastest drivers. He also races a few Shelby GT350s and a Lola with us. They're setting up this grid. It's been kind of crazy today with the scheduling and the weather, Jonathan. So a lot of the drivers didn't know they were coming to grid. They thought they were starting at 2. It's 1:30. So we've got a lot of latecomers. So this group is, I'll go through it. Starting in the first position is Scott Borchetta. You're looking right now at Mark Brummond, who's also going to be racing with us in the Trans Am series. But that's Mark Brummond right there in the 1985 Alfa Romeo GTV V6. Really neat car.
I reckon Kimi Räikkönen would like a go in that one.
Yeah, he was with us last weekend in Charlotte. We were at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Right there, that's our Group 12 champion from last year, Ron Pauly, in that Lexus. And I haven't yet gotten to speak to Ron. I've been wanting to, but I think he owns a Toyota dealership or runs a Toyota dealership just outside of Little Rock, Arkansas. So welcome Ron Pauly. He had a great showing here last year. Then as we go up the grid, it should be Doug Hagopian in the 1968 Porsche 911. We'll see his dad, Gary, in the next race, followed by John Nash in that Lotus 7. So in first place, we've got Scott Borchetta on pole, Gary Moore second, George Del Canto in a beautiful orange 1967 Chevrolet Stingray. And he's here actually with IndyCar driver Davey Hamilton. Wally Dallenbach should be in a grabber blue 1970 Ford Boss 302. And yes, the two-time Trans Am champion, Wally Dallenbach.
He's been doing a lot more racing of late, hasn't he?
He has. And we talked about Mark Brummond and Ron Pauly. Douglas Hagopian right there in that Porsche. Then we go to John Nash. John Nash in his 1961 Lotus Super 7. He's racing in two groups, Group 1 or Group 3 and Group 8 in that Lotus 7.
Just in case he forgets his name or he ends up in a tree somewhere.
And then H.D. Woodruff is in a blue BMW 2002 that we don't see. But behind him, a really neat story, and he's actually going to come into our announcer's booth in one of the next races, is Dave Nicholas in a 1968 BMW 2002. We'll see it here. You'll see him splitting these mission signs. So it should be the next BMW there is Dave Nicholas. And Dave Nicholas in that very car, almost exactly how it is right now. He won here in 1973 at the Camel GT event in that car. And he went on to win the championship. I think the championship was decided at Mid-Ohio. And he's out here years later in the same car, almost exactly as it raced. There goes H.D. Woodruff late to the grid, so he's going to have to start in the back. So look for him to come up. Then followed by Bill Harris in a 1985 Ford Mustang SVO. That's a really unique car. He was with us at Roebling Road. You see it there right next to that yellow Datsun at the back. That's that 2.3-liter Ford Ranger pickup truck engine that's like the Ford workhorse with a turbo. So it's a real, back in the 80s with oil and gas being what it was and horsepower. So they put a turbo on a 2.3 and put that in the Mustang SVO. Neat car. Followed by Ron Fuller in a car that he's raced here for years in the SECA, a Datsun 200 SX. Really cool car, that yellow one you see there. And then followed by one of my favorites, Glenn Maurer. He was with us last weekend at Charlotte, 1984 Alfa Romeo GT V6. Which, Jonathan, pick a car. Which car do you like the most? Look at that beautiful orange Corvette.
To be honest, I like the Alfa Romeo just because it's got the classic colors.
Yes, yeah, the Marlboro, and it shows up so well. It's a neat group of cars right here. I really like that Mustang SVO. That's a cool car. You don't see many of those on the racetrack. I think that's the only one I've seen with SVRA in 10 years.
So we're looking high above the Road Atlanta circuit. You're looking down at turn 6 and 7, and then the long straight through the woods down through 8 and 9, which is really just a kink before you head down to 10. And 10 is right at the bottom of the hill. And there's a great sort of amphitheater stadium down there. And when we have a full house here at Road Atlanta, that's where a lot of the crowd. And then down this straight, you'll see all the RVs. Not many this weekend. Obviously, COVID still holding back the crowds for now anyway, but we're delighted to be going racing and bring you some action. I know we've all been starved of it over the last year or so, but I have to take my hat off to Tony Perella and John Claggett for doing such a good of getting us out and doing some racing. And I know that these guys, especially in SVRA, have been very, very glad to get out of the house. This is what they live for. And we're about to get going. Looking forward to this.
That's HD Woodruff in that BMW 2002 right there. Late to grid, so he had to start at the back, so expect him to jump up. So here we go. Scott Borchetta leads him in on the inside. Not yet showing a green. And there we go.
Here we go.
Scott Borchetta pulls out at turn 12. Gary Moore in that Cougar. Now look for Mark Brumman to try to just pull down on George Del Canto. But he's got the power in that beautiful orange Corvette as the group comes through.
Yeah, I was watching Scott Borchetta in practice, and he was streets ahead of everybody else. But I guess everybody's kind of, I mean, they're racing, but they're really going for their own lap time here. They're challenging themselves in many ways. And you can see Scott Borchetta already pulling away. This is our coverage of Group 6, 8, and 12B, their first feature race of the weekend, as you join us for SVRA from Road Atlanta, one of the iconic circuits. And that's the beauty of SVRA. We do go to all the iconic circuits in the United States of America, and it really is a joy to be part of it.
Yeah, we were talking about Scott Borchetta, who pulled out front. Really, this is mixed group racing. So Gary Moore isn't really racing with Scott Borchetta. Scott's in a little bit different group. Gary Moore's in the TA group, so his car is set up like Trans Am would have set it up in 1968, that Cougar. Scott's got a lot more horsepower, a lot more rigid of a frame. And same with that Alpha GTV6 right there we saw. That is set up as it raced back in the day. As we look up at this long, they call it the back straight, but it's not very straight. And there's Scott Borchetta, who we'll also see in the TA2 race later on today in that number 98. It's a beautiful sounding car, though. That's a 1969 Chevrolet Corvette. And then look at this mix of cars here, 10A, 10B.
So Scott Borchetta in the number 98 Corvette. He's driven this car for several years now. It's a real love of his, isn't it?
Yeah, and this car he set up actually to run our VROC series, and his partner was going to be Bobby Labonte. Then COVID hit, so he's just kind of set this up to be his enduro car and his Group 6 car. He's got another Group 6 car that he races with us. And he is, would you see Gary Moore just go over that curbing there at turn 3 in that Mercury Cougar. But Scott Borchetta has sponsored the Big Machine Vodka Big Machine Records Xfinity Series with Jade Buford. And Jade is here this weekend. So look for Scott Borchetta's team and teammate to be running the NASCAR Xfinity Series as well. So he's going to be running TA2 and SVRA. Scott's our Group 6 and Group 10 champion in the last 2 years in SVRA, and there's Gary Moore. I think that's my favorite. Anytime anybody races with wire wheels or a vinyl roof, they'll always get my attention. So that Mercury Cougar has the actual true vinyl roof on it.
So as you can see, Scott pulling away now from the rest of the field. And as you mentioned, he makes himself a busy weekend. He enjoys doing lots of different races, and that's what he'll be doing again. He'll be out in the TA2 Championship later in the day. They're qualifying. He comes into 12 and gets it almost sideways as he crosses the line again. Let's have a look at his time. A 1:34.063 last time out, and that's several seconds faster than anybody else, but not really surprising.
Yeah, really, this is the race right here between George Del Canto for Group 6 and Gary Moore. These cars are a little bit more equally yoked. Gary Moore has a lot more seat time and track time than George, but George and Davey Hamilton have really built themselves a really beautiful Chevrolet Corvette in that like Tennessee orange. Look at how Gary's using the curbing. He was telling me about that it will actually help you steer the car by hitting your right front tire right up against that curbing. And there we see George Del Canto going down the straightaway, but we've got HD Woodruff and Dave Nicholas having a great battle on the front straight. We're going to see them here in a little bit in their BMW, both blue 2002s. That's Mark Brummond. We're going to see him later in a BMW in the SGT class with Trans Am.
There's that Alfa Romeo again. Mark Brummond at the wheel. He's another man who takes part in our SGT Championship in Trans Am as he locks up the rear going through 7. Nicely done.
Yeah, he's really close friends with Mike Skeen. And I think Mike Skeen helps him out a lot. But he races in all kinds of different series, just has a lot of fun out there. But really, I think the battle right now is between the two BMW 2002s. I hope we can get a shot of that. They should be coming into down the back stretch here soon between HD Woodruff and Dave Nicholas. Because the lead is spread out here in the front. We get a great shot there of Gary Moore. And we were just here at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta in November. We ended our 2020 season here. And so I feel like we were just here together.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the last of the season, and this is now here we are kind of at the front of our season.
Cracking weekend too, actually. It surprised me just how competitive that doubleheader was last year.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And Ron Pauly was here last year with us in that beautiful Lexus. I've never seen him have a mechanical. Knock on wood. That car finishes everything, and that's why he's our Group 12 champion from last year. Here come the BMWs coming down the hill as we look at Ron Pauly and that Lexus coming through the S's.
You know, now I've been involved with SVRA for a couple of years now. I realize just how much track time these guys get. It's well worth signing up for SVRA, just in terms of just, you know, visiting the iconic tracks, being a part of these events, and getting the amount of track time they actually get. Yeah,
these are definitely bucket list events, and a lot of people kind of set their calendar to that of like, oh, I've never been to Watkins Glen before, or so our next races are Sonoma, Laguna Seca back to back. So a lot of our drivers, they don't want to make that huge tow, but it might be worth it for them if these are bucket list tracks for them, because it's one tow for two of the most iconic tracks on the West Coast.
So we've been watching our Group 6, Group 8 and Group 12 A and B. And Scott Borchetta sprinting off into the distance, but enjoying every moment of it, as we are too.
Here we are. Two totally different cars right here. A Lotus Super 7.
Yeah.
Rear-wheel drive, front engine, super light with a rear engine Porsche 911 of Douglas Hagopian right there. That's a 1968 Porsche 911. And John Nash just loves racing. His wife Lorna, I think she's having more fun than anybody in the paddocks with us. They're at almost every event, and like I said, Gary Hagopian is going to be with us in a Bug-Eye Sprite in the Group 1 race coming up later on this afternoon. But Douglas is a really fast racer. Used to race a Bug-Eye Sprite, but has kind of moved up into Group 8 in this 911. Look at the different lines that these cars can take. Because that 911's fighting for grip, and really right now that Lotus 7 is just kind of tiptoeing through there, just really fighting for power. I
can't get over when you say it's a 68 Porsche, how much it looks like the modern day 911. I mean, you know, they really haven't changed, have they?
They haven't. Scott Borchetta just got the checkered flag on the
He's so far ahead, he's already finished.
Yeah. And that's John Nash right there in that Lotus Super 7. Let's see what happens here if John can get Doug Hagopian.
And here comes our second place man coming across the line. That's Gary Moore in the Cougar.
There he is.
And the Mercury Cougar takes second place. George Del Canto in the Chevrolet Stingray taking third place. Mark Brummond in fourth.
That's our winner right there, Scott Borchetta.
Now he's got to hot foot it and get ready for qualifying.
Yeah, he's got to get his number 48 TA2 car going. Mark Brummond came on top of Ron Pauly. That's going to be a great battle for Group 12 between those two. And Douglas Hagopian was able to take John Nash to the checkered flag. I'm hoping to see these BMW 2002s.
So we've got some great action for SVRA throughout the weekend. This is just the first of this triple group that we'll see in action. They'll be back in action again tomorrow. And hopefully the weather will also be compliant, as this has been perfect. This is about the nicest weather we've had all day. The sun's shining, still a few puffs of cloud around, but the rain has finally gone away for now, as the checkered flag continues to wave for our 6, 8 and 12A groups. We are high above the start-finish in the beautiful new pit and paddock area and hospitality area that they've built here on the old tower, if you will. Timing here, race control and commentary booths. And confirmation of the result then. Scott Borchetta with the Chevrolet Corvette from 1968 wins. Gary Moore second, George Del Canto in third, Mark Brumman fourth, Ron Pauly in fifth place, Douglas Halapian in sixth place, John Nash in that beautiful Lotus Super 7 in seventh place, Woodruff eighth, David Nicholas in ninth, and Bill Harris in the Ford Mustang SVO finishes in 10th place.